This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome into the Triple Option. On a show so big, we have 2 channels now. Two. Yeah. Tell me who else is on 2 channels. It's not a presidential debate. A lot of people. Shut up, Jack. Don't steal my thunder. Look, this is as important as a presidential debate that we have to put on 2 YouTube channels. More important. See, now he's changed his tune. Mm-hmm. Listen, I'm not promoting emotional abuse, but like a little bit of it. A little bit. Microdosing.
Yeah.
Like, don't do LSD. Just do a little bit of LSD. Microdose it. You don't need a bag of mushrooms. You need like half of one mushroom. Just a little bit of negative reinforcement can sometimes get you some great results. Okay. If you learn nothing from me today, that's what you can learn. And please don't tell anybody that that's what I said. I mean, it's just
good advice.
Again, I'm a person who thrives on positivity and positive reinforcement. I like that, but I do like to have a change up in my arsenal.
Got to.
Yeah. By the way, I want to talk about something that's not related to college football right off the bat.
Let's do it.
F the Yankees and F their fans.
I saw it this morning. You talking about the Mookie Betts thing?
Look, you come for Mookie, you come for me. All right? This fat ass is standing right in front of him. I'll tell you that. And I am a little disappointed in Jesse Rogers, a writer from ESPN, who went and met the guy at a bar, which, again, great job. Like,
right.
Hey, I'm going to go meet this guy. I'm going to write a story about him. But then he said, oh, this guy's a beaut. And maybe he is a nice guy in real life. But what those guys did was absolutely ridiculous and in no way should be celebrated.
No. That's where we're at, though.
Oh, hey, this guy, yeah. It's not like they just swatted the ball out of his glove.
Oh, they tried to rip his damn arm off.
I might have even just been like, oh, okay, guys, come on, you drunk ass. But no, they both tried to rip his arm off. And yeah, no, it was ridiculous.
I understand the notion of the fans wanting to go for the ball, but don't do something like that. Don't put your hands on the player. Because what happens if Mookie was to jump up and swing at him just out of retaliation? You know what I'm saying? Then it's going to be more on him, and then it's going to be woe is me from the fans and all that BS. I don't like where that's at. It kind of reminds me of a couple of years back when basketball season started. I believe it was the NBA first, where you started seeing all the fans just run on the court, just randomly trying to get out there. Like, people just doing stupid things at sporting events has kind of become the new – it's always been there, but it seems amplified as of late. Surprise, surprise. But, yeah, that was ridiculous, man. You cannot put your hands on a player. And, like I said, if he would have retaliated, then you try to whine about it, that's on you. I wish Mookie probably would have busted him in the face personally.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was – I was upset. I was very upset by the whole thing. And it was a terrible way to start out watching that game. And then the Yankees, and I know they're trying to do the thing where, oh, don't let us win a game like the Red Sox did to them in 2004. And, okay, if they come back, then they've earned that. But the Dodgers still have a tremendous advantage because the series is going to go back to L.A. It's 3-1. Yeah, look. Ohtani's going to feel better day by day. Eventually, he's going to affect this series. Freddie Freeman's still hot. I have a feeling Mookie might explode.
Probably.
Yeah. So
that's some good motivation for you.
Max Muncy hasn't hit yet, so eventually the averages all kind of balance out. Right. So everybody's seen the pitchers now, but I got to say this, and I know you're not a big baseball guy. It's a big issue in baseball of how they too many pitchers are having to have Tommy John multiple times. Yeah. It's because we were fine for years when the fastest pitch was 101 or 2 miles an hour. Now we've got guys trying to ratchet it up to almost 110.
That's just you're not natural. Your body's not supposed to do that.
Well, look, Just because you can doesn't mean maybe you should, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not, we're just not built to take that. So they've got to go. We need to go back to some old school pitching where, I can watch a series and there's a 4-man rotation for the playoffs, and I don't have to worry about watching a stupid bullpen game in the playoffs.
Right.
I hate I don't want a bullpen game as part of the 162. It's a long season. A lot of injuries happen. But if you're in the World Series, I want to see starter, starter. And if you're having a bullpen game, it better be because your starter got lit the F up. Mm-hmm. That's just my rant right here.
I'm all for it.
Yes. So, yeah. Paxton says 90 to 95, fast enough. Honestly, it is. It's fine. We need to get back to something. They've made a lot of changes. That's the next thing that they've got to do. And there was the
Nats are back
day.
today. I meant to tell you that earlier.
Yeah. How are they today?
It's not good, Paul.
It's not good today?
Today was the worst day I've since last week.
Really?
Just my morning. My morning's been interesting.
Okay. All right. Well, time to bleach again. So, but today a little bit of a shorter show. Garrett and I have like 5 or 6 things to work on right after this before we get to the 3:00 show. So, and Steven, we both forgot that Steven is on a road trip, or he's on a trip. Mm-hmm. They flew to Denver, and then they were going through, they drove up through Yellowstone and all that stuff.
Nice. Good for them.
So, it was good. He told us that last week, and we didn't pay attention to him. Again, a little bit of negative reinforcement sometimes can blow up in your face.
Can.
Sometimes it can work for you. Every day I try to take a little bit of Jack's self-esteem, half of 1% at a time. Not a full percent. That would be rude.
Yeah.
Half of 1%, it's fine.
How can you take what doesn't exist?
So, I can get him into negative numbers. That's my goal.
That's your goal every day.
Yeah. So, anyway, yesterday we talked about the tiebreaker on the main show. We talked about the tiebreaker scenarios that are out there, and a lot of them won't happen. We've still got a month. Things are going to happen, but the thing is, in the past, because the leagues were smaller and inevitably everybody's on a collision course inside those leagues, they were less likely to happen, and they didn't happen most of the time because you're going to play. Eventually, you're going to play.
Right. Yeah.
Eventually, you're going to play. The whole winning percentage thing. I do think that we're going to see at least one league have to go to the 3rd or 4th tiebreaker.
Oh,
because they're so big. 18, 16, all of that. All those leagues are so big that if you've got 3 teams that have not played each other at all, then
there's no true champion.
Well, yeah. Okay. Look. Now, Pittsburgh doesn't fall into this scenario in the ACC, but Clemson, Miami, and SMU do because none of them play each other. So should SMU beat Pittsburgh this week, and Pittsburgh might be without Eli Holstein, then now Pitt and SMU have the same record, and SMU has one in their corner.
Right.
If SMU doesn't lose another game, Clemson doesn't lose another game, they both have 1 loss, and then Miami goes undefeated, or say they do lose a game, say Miami loses a game, then you've got 3 teams with the same record who haven't played each other yet. What tiebreaker do you think they're going to get to that says, sorry, SMU, you're not?
It's coming pretty quick.
Yeah. So you're going to see, if you wanted who's getting screwed drama, this is actually the way I think it happens now more often than the 2 ways it is going to get screwed in your own conference before you even get screwed by the committee. Mm-hmm. Now, everybody hearts can bleed for Indiana that if the 3-way tie happens in that league, then with them, Penn State, and Oregon, if that 3-way tie happens, obviously it's going to be Penn State and Oregon who play in the championship game. But if you're a 12-0 Big Ten team, you're actually given a little bit of a gift that you probably get to host a home playoff game and not play in the championship game. So in that regard, outside of the chance to be called the conference champion, which has not happened in Indiana, I don't know if it's ever happened. I'm not going to get into my Big Ten history book right now, but it doesn't happen that much. So outside of getting to hoist that banner, then that's really not that egregious because there's no way they're leaving out a 12-0 team.
No.
At least from that league.
But I don't when it comes to that point, does it matter if you won the conference championship? Like 1967 is when they did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Jack.
I'm interested to see like how this affects scheduling going forward, because if this is going to be an issue and this becomes an issue and the wrong teams get left out of these conferences, do you see a situation where they just, because we already see where they're trying to do the playoff, like I think Craig laid it out yesterday, where they want to have like the top 4 teams from each conference and have like a mini playoff. So do you see where it shifts, like, okay, we're going to ride with these big leagues where everybody just plays everybody within that, then you have like a playoff and then you go out? Like, you just don't play any other conferences until a playoff? I don't know how else you can do it to ultimately come up with the actual true champion of a conference if not everybody's going to play each other. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Like they got rid of divisions because they weren't playing each other, right? Chris Vanini did a great column on this, but none of this was not a concern when all this started happening, because it was all about getting the best TV league that you could together, the best, biggest, most powerful, all the TV money. But again, this is something that it's a problem that was created because they didn't think it would be that big of a deal. And maybe it's not. But if you thought maybe controversy was going to be gone, it was going to be too easy. No, it's going to happen.
Oh, it's always going to be there.
But now they've pushed it into their own conference, where one time we had this thing happen in the Big 12 where it was at a crisis point. And that was Texas OU and Texas Tech, where, Texas, let's see, Tech beat Texas, Texas beat OU, OU beat Tech, and OU drilled Tech. Like, that game was definitive. So Tech got put because of that scoring margin, because they all played essentially the same schedule because they were all in the Big 12 South.
Right.
That was the other
That
problem.
was the Crabtree catch, wasn't it, that beat Texas?
Yeah, the Crabtree year. So because of that drubbing to Oklahoma, then, okay, there's your third, and then it was Oklahoma and Texas, and since Texas had beaten Oklahoma, am I right there, or did Oklahoma get it? No,
remember.
Oklahoma won it. I can't. Maybe I'm messing it up. Paxton, remind me how that all went down, because I'm confused now. But it was that 3-way tie, and then Mac Brown went into Mac Brown lobbied a little harder than Bob Stoops did, if I remember correctly. And I don't think he lobbied harder than Mike Leach, but also it's hard to tell when Mike Leach was lobbying.
God,
He was just being Mike Leach. But yeah, they I think like when you have that, we're going to have that more often. For those of us on the outside looking in that had no dog in that hunt, I remember it being kind of hilarious. But then I remember thinking, like, especially if I'm a Texas Tech fan, nobody felt bad for Texas and OU. They've got Tech, they've got all this, but Tech, I really felt bad for Tech. It was like,
is there one opportunity?
Oh man, dang, and they beat Texas in this great game. But again, I mean, Oklahoma put up, it might have been 60 or something. It was bad. It was bad. So yeah, I absolutely wonder. So, but if it happens in the Big Ten, are we going to feel bad? We'll feel bad for Indiana.
I would feel bad for Indiana. Yeah,
everybody
because
but
it's
Jack,
a cool
he's
story.
a Purdue fan. But
I think everybody would. I think most people outside of the Big Ten, they want to see that, right? Like, you want to see something new, and if it's a way to like kind of stick it to the brand, especially not more so Oregon, because they're new to this as well. But if you could have a way to like stick it to Ohio State or something, I think that would be great for everybody. Yeah. And that would kind of lay the foundation of what these new conferences are going to look like. You couldn't take things for granted. Like, we're seeing Alabama fall down. There's more competition. There's more opportunities for these other teams. So, yeah, if it came down to that, I definitely want to see Indiana get in and somebody like Ohio State get screwed. That would be great. We just don't get to see it very often.
No, look, now, there is the thought that Ohio State might find their way out of this thing.
That would be so awesome. I meant Penn State, yeah.
Yeah, Penn State, Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon, I think right now, as long as Ohio State wins this weekend, which normally they do over Penn State, then everybody's going to hold serve, and they're all three they'll all three be in there, and then it comes down to, okay, well, what happens with Indiana? You know, because Ohio State plays Indiana. That's that's one of the common opponents that all of them have. And so now if Indiana beats Ohio State, I mean, I think they put Ohio State out of this thing.
They would have to, yeah.
Especially if Penn State and Indiana beat them.
Oh,
Here's
then
my
they're
other
done.
thing.
Yeah.
Let's say Penn State, Indiana beat Ohio State. Ryan Day will coach out the string. He'll coach against Michigan, but that next morning,
I don't know, dude.
He'll be somewhere else.
You think they would let him if he lost? That's a good topic. I would love to know this. If he lost those 2 games, you think they would let him coach Michigan?
If they're 9-3, I'm telling you right now, he's out the door.
Yeah, I don't think if that was the scenario, I don't think there's any way in hell they would let him take the sideline against Michigan.
And look, if he's 8-4, that would mean he goes 1-3 the rest of the season.
Oh,
but if he goes loses to that Michigan team,
yeah.
And look, he might win all those rest of them, lose to that Michigan team.
It's still over.
Then I mean, it would maybe up in the air.
Yeah.
Especially if that makes them 10-2 and cost them the playoff. Because you could have an 11-1 team in the SEC that supersedes them, and then everybody's like, well, they're not that good anyway.
Yep.
They lost to every good team they played this year.
Yeah.
So because that would be the knock on them of, okay,
every time you were pushed,
the only good team they beat would say be Indiana, but they also lost to Penn State. And then, Michigan wasn't the Michigan of last year. So they had to have no quarterback for Ryan Day to beat them. And then it's just going to be there. Like, it may not be over, but it'll be tense.
Oh, definitely would.
Especially given the whole big deal they made. They were very public about how much they were spending in NIL. Like the Buckeye Collective group was very, very vocal about, we are spending $20 million on this roster. This is what we are spending on this roster. And that is a message to the head coach.
I wonder how long that's going to take to write. Like all these programs, like if you invest a lot of money and you're not getting your ROI, I'm wondering to see how long it takes for people to start dialing back and saying, you know what, maybe this really isn't worth it.
Well, I do think that it will. I think that's going to ultimately take care of itself.
Yeah,
I do. Like I think that. Because
it's new, so it's the cool thing to do.
It's new.
Yeah. People
are doing this. The portal give and taketh away and all those things. There's new rules that are coming in with revenue sharing, so you reasonably probably don't have to spend as much because you'll have guys that you just maybe have to backfill a little bit as opposed to going and giving the full boat. Because
that's how it should be.
Now the schools are going to be pulling their weight. The other reason, here's another thing, the school, like this is maybe good news for the schools that they have to do this. I've heard a lot of, Deion Sanders is the most like, you guys used to maybe go easy on the kids. You're like, look, man, I get it. Like they're college kids, but they're pro athletes now in the way that they get paid. So not only do they not get paid from the school, which would be a different thing, but the people, I'm not like, when I go to a Red Sox game, a Cowboys game, when I went to a college game, all of these things, I'm technically paying a small portion of the player's salary, right? But I don't know, I don't know specifically. Like there's an owner who's in charge of all that, and he's, required by collective bargaining to do all these things. Well, in the NIL world, if you're asking me to join the collective even for $100 a month, well, I know that money's going right to the players. So whether I have manners in my criticism of the players or not, well, technically I'm paying them.
Yeah.
So I can make a Yelp review. I don't know how productive that's going to be, but I went into a restaurant and my chicken was cold. So I'm going to give you a 1-star review, right? Like that's the thing that can have, like that's how the world works. So I think it will ultimately work itself out because there's just going to be things where the university has to, because now the university can maybe say, well, look, we're on the lion's share of that. The NIL collective, pays a portion of it in.
Right.
But, the $20 million roster would be just excessive. And then if they can spend, say, $8 million on the roster because the rest of the money is coming through and it'll work itself out.
Yeah.
It'll work itself out. I'm not I'm not too terribly worried about it. But on that regard. But, yeah, but these conferences, because all this, they're too big, and it's taken some of the fun out of it. Or it's added some controversy.
I don't know that it's taking the fun out.
No, it isn't taking the fun out of it. That's the way to put it. But, where we're trying to get maybe less controversy, college football can't help it. They have to find new ways to create controversy. So basically what they heard is that, they're just tired of this drama. Like the soap opera that is college football. Okay, they're tired of this guy coming back from the dead all the time. So now we're going to kill him to where he can't come back.
Right.
That's it. Okay, he's dead. He fell off of a cliff into a subterranean crevasse, and there's no way they can recover his body. He fell into the deepest part of the ocean, crushed. He was on the submersible. I don't know. Whatever. But so instead of doing that, like, no, we just want better writing. Like, no, we'll just get rid of this one guy. And they're like, okay, we're going to bring in a new guy who has all these new drama points to him.
Yeah.
He's somehow everybody's brother and dad at the same time. Those kind of incestuous soap opera things. That's what the new controversy is like, before the committee even gets to it, we're going to have the conferences screw this up first.
Take it out of
so
their
before
hands.
we even get to screw somebody over,
it's coming to
their
us.
own commissioner will have to do it. This is a move called the Bowlsby. See, before we can do it, we just need them to mess it up.
Yeah, we're going to do it for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, Baylor and TCU, who we're going to talk about next, because I do think it's the most interesting game in the Big 12 this week.
Could be.
I do. I mean, there's a lot of factors that make it that way. But when Baylor and TCU in 2014, was 2014?
I think it was 2014.
14. In 2014, we're both up for the playoff. Baylor had beaten TCU. Baylor lost to West Virginia. Bob Bowlsby thought he could pull one over. And this is why everybody should know that the SEC and the Big Ten are way more powerful. He thought he could pull one over on the committee and get two teams in because he felt they had better resumes than Ohio State.
Yeah, but
So what he was banking on is that like Florida State that year was undefeated, but every game was a white knuckler where it was like, oh God, like they would screw around the whole time, and then Jameis would bring him back in the end.
Yeah. Every
single time. So, oh God, and then, here we go. So, so what we saw there was Bob Bowlsby, when they said, well, who's your conference champion? He's like, well, we don't have one. One true champion. They're like, okay, who's that one guy, that one true champion? He's like, you'll have to figure that on your own. But they're both worthy of being a champion. Well, if you had to pick, what would you say?
Philosophy.
And then he would say, well, if I had to pick right now, it'd be TCU because TCU has a better loss than Baylor does. And then the committee's like, wait a minute, didn't TCU
just
lose
straight
to
up
Baylor?
lose to them? Yeah.
And then then you've got the committee going, we can't figure this out.
We'll
look, Ohio State just
beat Cornell.
Look at Ohio State just beat Wisconsin 55-0 in the championship game. Well, that's a better win than 61-58. Like, there we go. So then they throw that in the mix, and the Big 12 was out of it.
Yep.
Because the SEC wasn't going to be out of it.
Hell no.
Oregon was great that year, and Florida State was undefeated. So, what was going to happen? Yeah. LSU was also the defending national champ.
Yeah.
They'd won like 33 games in a row, so you weren't taking them out. And in spite of the fact that they went through a very rocky, a very mediocre schedule, and it was not like they didn't
play nobody. Yeah.
They didn't put their stamp on any of it. It was just like, I mean, honestly, they played drunk the whole year, where it's just like, you're like, hey man, you're getting your ass kicked. It's like, all right, give me another beer, and then he goes in there and just like throws that one haymaker and knocks the guy out. That was 13 games in a row for them. And then the playoff happened. And, I think they said, we got to play this one sober. And they should have just kept playing it drunk.
Just could not.
But, that was a very, very weird thing. But So, but that was the first time that happened, where the conference screwed their participant before the committee even could. I can't even blame the committee for that one as much, because that was also the first one. And if you came to me and said, we don't have a champion, all these other teams have championship games, all right, well, I'm going to do that, and then just say, like, well, there we go.
Yeah. When you said that, and you're talking, just me thinking about situations in the past where programs have been screwed. And I've always wondered this because I didn't pay attention at the time, or I wasn't like really invested at the time with this. But the year that Texas and USC played was like 05, right? Mm-hmm. How did Auburn get left out of that? Because Auburn was undefeated as well with Cadillac Williams and all of them. Do you remember that? How they got left out?
Well, because like it was Texas and USC.
So yeah.
I mean, like those are the two big brands. Also, if you remember back in 2005, nobody was jerking off over the SEC.
It wasn't like a conference. Yeah. It was
like
just early on.
Yeah, there was never like, oh, it just means more.
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe that's what spurred it.
Like, I bet
maybe
you
that's what spurred it. It was like, we're not going to have this happen to us again.
Yeah.
I've never. Yeah.
They took out the Watergate playbook, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I'm sure some people in the chat may know this or watching. When Richard Nixon had to resign because of Watergate, a thing that he did, right? He did that. It was on tape. We all know he did it.
Oh, but that doesn't matter.
I'm just gonna put this out there. So in the 70s, when you did something and we all know you did it, you had to stop doing that thing.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the case anymore in many walks of life.
All about money.
But a lot of pro-Nixon people got together and said never again. So that when Iran-Contra came around in the 80s, they kind of got through that one, right? Mm-hmm. They got through that one, and then things have changed on both sides of presidential politics since Watergate, because both sides decided, like, oh, we don't want that to happen. We don't want that to happen again. Like, let's make sure that we protect ourselves from that, because that was a really dumb thing. And Watergate, there was a lot of really smart people that worked there. And it's like, when you read about it, you're like, how dumb do these people are they?
It's all about getting paid off, man.
Well, no, but I mean, but even still, you're like, well, you're trying to hatch this scheme. Be a little more smart about it. Mm-hmm. Like, first of all, from the top on down, don't record all the conversations you saying all the illegal things you're doing. Like, and that wasn't somebody who did that to Nixon. Nixon did that to himself.
Yep.
You know, like, those are the things you just don't do. Now they don't do it. To credit to our current political scandals across the board, most of the time, nobody records themselves doing it now. They learned that lesson in 72. So, good job. Good job. When we come back, the most intriguing game in the Big 12 this week is Baylor and TCU. But they're both mediocre. Why? Well, we'll dive into that. That's next. This is 365 Sports.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome into the Triple Option. I'm Paul Catalina alongside Garrett Ross. Last segment today, because Garrett and I have a lot to do betwixt shows today. And yes, I used betwixt. I'm feeling Shakespearean today.
Just feeling it. Okay. I respect it.
Do you think I could do a whole show, like, just speaking Shakespeare?
You could, yes.
I mean, I would have to have no co-host, but if I
Yeah.
If I did the Shakespeare, like, is that a show I could sell to college football fans? Is Shakespeare Does College Football?
If you're doing like takes from the weekend, hell yeah.
Like, if I could get some Shakespearean actors together and I wrote in Shakespeare form, like the things that happen, the drama in college football, would that be funny?
Yeah.
Don't take it too seriously.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't take it too seriously at all.
Absolutely could.
Yeah, I'm not going to play it straight. Like, you know, when Michigan and Michigan State have a fight that all of a sudden with 50 cameras around is not clear what's going on. Like, that to me is a little Shakespearean. You know. Or, you know, when Ohio State loses to Oregon because their quarterback did a dumb thing. Mm-hmm. That's Shakespearean, right?
Yep.
Look, I could do a 3-part play about FSU and Miami. You know, whiteth right.
Whiteth right.
and there's your 3-act play right there.
Yep.
You know.
There's something there. There's something to work with.
But a mere 3 years later.
Oh, my God.
Sir Scott Bentley did it again. No. Was it Scott Bentley? I don't know. So, yeah, there's listen, I don't know if I'm ever going to do that, but if I can,
it's on the table.
If I can break it, if I can figure out a way to do it, then I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. I want like full costumes and everything too.
Yeah. Like have them line up and run play. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get Ian McKellen. Could you see Ian McKellen?
Yeah.
Talking about college football? He's British and gay.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's super into it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, the games of the Big 12 this week: Arizona State, Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
You know, UCF, Arizona. Houston, Kansas State. Yeah. Now, Iowa State and Texas Tech. I'm interested in this. Tech needs a win very badly. Mm-hmm. They go to Iowa State. We know they can score, but Iowa State's undefeated. Everybody has almost won every year. Like, is this to me feels like a chance for Iowa State to get upset, but I still think Iowa State's going to win. You know?
I don't trust Tech right now, and I know they desperately need a win, and this would be a great way to right the ship. They get Baron Morton back, which is definitely going to help them. I just don't see them being able to go into Ames. Like, that's such a difficult place to go and play. Yeah. I don't see them being able to do that.
Yeah. No, I don't either. But Baylor and TCU is intriguing because these were a couple programs that were left for dead a couple weeks ago, and then now they're both not. Now, there's still 4 games left in the season for both of them, 5-3 and 4-4, so they could still get left for dead.
Right.
Like, they're not out of the woods yet. But they have, rejuvenated themselves. It looks like things are starting to click a little bit. TCU has decided, hey, Savion Williams is our most talented athlete. Mm-hmm. Let's find as many ways we can to get the ball in his hands.
Yep.
And Kendall Briles went into his old 2015 playbook and was like,
Johnny
what if we just put him in the shotgun?
Just let him go.
And let him go. And say, hey, Savion, we're going to stab the ball to you, and you're going to go that way.
He's big, man. I would not want to get in his way.
Yeah.
Like, he's a dude.
Well, look, he's a fifth-year senior, right?
Yeah.
So he was a guy I thought was going to get a look at a, 6th-round draft pick kind of a thing based on his production this year.
Yeah.
Which has been fine. I mean, they're fine. But offensively, their biggest – they can't run the ball.
No, they can't.
What do? You get the ball in your best, athlete's hands. Well, if he can be kind of a Deebo Samuel type, bump that up a round or so.
I also think, what helps, too, is they have a lot of quick receivers. And I feel like this is just my perspective, I feel like TCU was looking at Savion to become what Quentin Johnson was, and he just didn't develop into that type of alpha. I'm going to go get the ball at all times. And I think making this adjustment makes sense because you still have receivers you can go to. You put him back there. He's very big. He's very athletic. I I understand why they did it. I just feel like there's elements to it. And I feel like if he would have been more successful as being that possession receiver that you can go to, they might not be in this situation. But it also shows the benefit of having that type of athlete that you can rely on in a situation like this to switch over and just make him do something different and have success at it. So Savion's done a really good job over there, and hats off to the TCU coaching staff for making it work.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked at length about the pageantry of this weekend and what is going on here, where they're honoring those 2013 and 2014 teams that were 61-58 that won the Big 12.
Blackout, all that.
The blackout. Most of the coaches, most of the coaches, about half of them will be back. The other, a lot of them have other current jobs. Well, 3 of them have a job at the one place that's playing in TCU. So that's, drama baked in. There was the chance that Gary Patterson was going to be on the Baylor sideline.
He's going to be. There's no way he's not at this game, though, right? Like, he's going to be here
If I were him, I
somewhere.
would steer clear of it.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's just going to make him mad.
Good point.
It's just going to make him mad. Because this was the short period where Baylor actually did have TCU's number. It wasn't a long stretch. It was a short time. Baylor is beating TCU.
Yeah.
Which drove Gary absolutely batshit crazy.
Yep.
The game that Phil Bennett was talking about the other day where Ahmad got ejected or Ryan got all that. He's in the post game going, Gary Patterson lives in Fort Worth. It was nuts. Yeah, but this to me is really intriguing, and I don't think it's going to set the loser on a bad path or anything.
No.
Because somebody has to lose this game. But if Baylor wins this game, I think it accelerates their confidence even more. If Baylor loses this game, then it's a here we go again. And I don't know how to quantify this to fans who haven't been here. But more often than not, when Baylor has a let's remember the good old days night,
It don't end well.
those end really poorly.
They do.
I don't know what it is. Not every single time. There's some times where it's not that big of a deal, but basketball, women's basketball's had a couple of these. Men's basketball, baseball, has a couple times brought back the 05 CWS team and then lost 18-2. It's just, they do that. They have this nostalgia night. Hey, this is the night we're putting up a statue. It's Grant Taft's birthday. All these other things. Whenever they do this, weird stuff happens, and they don't win. My old co-host, Butch Henry, may he rest in peace.
R.I.P. Butch.
Who I have a feeling sits here every day and says, look at those 3 dumbasses. But Butch used to say, it's just a thing. It's a Baylor thing.
It is.
It's a Baylor thing. If they can exercise that demon and TCU simultaneously, I really do think this could be their 04 Red Sox moment.
It could. I feel like my approach to this game, and I'm probably going to pick Baylor. The more I was thinking about it today, I was getting a little nervous and thinking about picking TCU. But to me, if you're Baylor and you can't do it now, because this isn't the best TCU team by any means, they're very vulnerable. All of the stuff going into it, you're riding a hot hand. You have everything in front of you where if you win out, you don't even have to win out. You can lose one more game and still become bowl eligible. But ideally, you would like to win out. You can beat TCU. You have the opportunity to do that. Then you could go into Morgantown and do something you haven't done. There's just so many opportunities for them, and it feels like everything's lining up like that special type of rally run you see. But in this game in particular, if you can't beat TCU now, then when would you be able to do? That's how I'm viewing this game.
Yeah, there's fatal, it gets fatalistic when you have a team that's always beating you no matter what. And God, what year was it? Was it 2017 where it was the Jalen Reagor game? 2018?
I think it was 2018.
2018 was the Jalen Reagor game where Baylor's defense gave up 2 big plays.
Yeah, all game.
All game, they were both to Jalen Reagor. Baylor's offense couldn't do anything and lost that game. And those are the kind, and that TCU team was not good in 2018. But they still, like, Baylor was getting better, and they still lost that game. Again, 2019, they needed a miraculous thing to happen, and that Max Duggan actually stepped out of bounds.
Yep.
And it was not obvious.
No, it was
one of those things where, like, you know, they review his foot from 3 different angles, and you could see he was on the white. I know TCU fans will never believe that, but, like, he stepped out barely, and Baylor won the game. I remember, like, the wind coming out of the sails in the stadium that day, like, almost knocked out the windows in the press box. Like, it just that may be one of the times I've been at a place where you could collectively been at places. I've been at Kyle Field many times where that happens, but that was maybe one of the ones where it distinctly was like, oh man, these are a lot. Like, there's a lot of emotion going on down here, and none of it's positive.
None of it's good.
Yeah. There's dudes breaking up with their girlfriends today. I promise you, there was a TCU frat boy who's like, I'm tired of your bullcrap, Kara. And it was just because of the Max Duggan call.
Yeah.
And then, like, 6 months later, he's just drunk, and, like, Kara's banging a better guy. And he's just like, I should have calmed down. Wouldn't even matter. I'll never do better.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, dude. No, I shouldn't have.
Screwed that one up.
We were all like, that's effed up, bro. Yeah.
But they were egging him on the whole time.
Yeah. Does she not know, like, your buddy's girl, does she not know what's going on here?
She don't know, man.
Does she not care that we're about to lose to Baylor? Yeah. That's what's going on. That's what's going on. All right. Again, a bit of a shorter show today. Please go subscribe to the other channel if you haven't already. Some of you have.
Yes, thank you.
We didn't tell you this, but since you figured it out, we'll just tell you. Josh Neighbors, this was his channel for a while. He just doesn't have the time to do everyday content. Well, we were already doing everyday content, so we just kind of moved over. I mean, you could say hostile takeover, but no. We're all still cool. You'll see Josh make his appearances on the show. But, yeah, that's more or less the long and the short of it. So we moved on. It's the Triple Option channel. We're going to do a lot of stuff on it. Garrett, I'm going to tell you about an idea I had. We're going to start next week.
Okay.
You're going to love it.
All right.
So if everybody watches our segment on Friday with RankingsRightNow.com's Peyton Swisher, Peyton is going to do 4 little videos a week for us that will air on the Triple Option channel that are going to be like 5 minutes long, where he's going to go through, like, the playoff rankings, what the big game was the last week, what the big game is this week, and then, like, a little nugget to watch out for.
I'm excited.
So those 4 things are going to be up from Rankings right now. I've talked to Peyton about it. He's excited. We're also going to get, I'm going to try to get Bill Connolly to do a segment with us. We just had him on the show yesterday. I suggest you go watch that.
Yes.
But Adam McClintock, the college football professor, Dave Bartu is on the show tomorrow. Guys like that. Throughout the rankings this next month, maybe do 4 episodes of that. Will be a long-form conversation where we bring in different people who are in the rankings, kind of the numbers game, and he and Peyton and I can have discussions on this, and then I'll sit back and let the 2 of them talk about things. So those will be also available. We'll probably run those as episodes.
Nice.
Throughout the next month as well. So that's all coming up on the Triple Option channel, and of course all of our great stuff that's still on 365 Sports channel. Nothing's changing other than where the content lives. There'll still be live streams available on 365 Sports if you're set in your ways. They'll be available on everything, but the shorter form content will all be on Triple Option if it's Triple Option branded. So that's what we're going to do. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with Pierre Nugent, who will give me his thoughts on the Big Ten tiebreakers coming up. And I bet you, I want to see the chaos. I hope it happens. I hope it happens. I hope it happens to a league other than the Big 12. I really hope it happens.
It's going to happen to the ACC. You
know
that.
Oh, God, do I want to happen in the ACC.
It's happening there.
Oh, I want to so badly. Listen, if it happens in the ACC, I'm going to find a way for science to make it into an elixir that I can drink, like little vials at a time. Like, I'll be all for
Microdosing,
that.
Paul.
Hey, nothing would make me happier if Clemson and or Miami get screwed and SMU gets to go in their spot.
Oh, that would be great.
God. I mean, look, I won't need gummies anymore. That will be my gummy.
There you go.
That will be my gummy. It's just like, hey, I'm really stressed out. Hey, remember that time that Miami got screwed because of SMU? And I'll be like, yeah, that's hilarious, man.
So good.
That's great. That was great. Oh, man. Oh, don't tell me that again. I'll get too high. All right, tomorrow, Pierre's here. Thanks for watching. We love you guys. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports and the Triple Option channel.